I'm joined now by Pastor Bert Pretorius, Executive Board Member of International Federation of Christian Churches and the founding pastor of 3C Church. A very good afternoon to you, Pastor. Thanks very much for your time. For how long have you known him?
Oh, I've known Pastor Ray now for just going over 20 years. And it's been a great privilege and an honor to be able to serve with him within this great nation of South Africa. And, obviously it's with deep sorrow and reverence, as we mark the passing of, Pastor Ray McCully. All of us know him, we call him Pastor Ray. And I think the whole nation knows, calls him Pastor Ray. And it was, of course, our hearts were really saddened with the loss of this giant in the faith.
For those of us who never really were as close as you were to him, how would you describe him to someone who never encountered him?
Well, Pastor Ray was full of love. He was, he had capacity within himself to love more. I always say it's like, loving is like a South African taxi. There's always place for one more. That's how Pastor Ray was. There's one more person, one more family, one more church. And that's how he was. His life was open, inviting anybody who he can help. And, I travel extensively throughout the world, and there's not a place I've been there where, they don't know Pastor Ray, Pastor Ray. And the reason why they remember Pastor Ray is because of the impact that he makes in people's lives, just the words that he says, the encouragement that he brings, having faith in people, having faith in the future. And one of his great sayings, of course, is, the best is yet to come.
Of course, he was a pioneer in many respects. Founding the Rhema Bible Church in 1979, and those of us who were around, that time would remember that, churches were completely different to what we are seeing now. And here was a white man in a white area. And he founded this church that accommodated everybody. No, Pastor Ray was, he was so strong strong advocate for racial reconciliation, especially during those apartheid years when, it was illegal to do it, in actual fact, where he pioneered that. He was like the spearhead that opened the doors for, us younger preachers and ministers to follow, making it easier for us. But he was the spearhead, and he took the grunt and paid the price, to be able to do that. And, as a Rhema Bible Church became that beacon of hope during that time. Opposing segregation by hosting the non-racial services. And, and that bold stance that he took, that, not only fostered racial unity within the congregation, but it became a symbol for the broader vision of South Africa. And as Pastor Ray's influence extended far beyond the pulpit because, it put him into the socio-political sphere, during that transition, the South Africans' transition into democracy. He was actively involved in meeting key leaders. And of course, he joined hands with influential figures like Archbishop, Desmond Tutu, Reverend Frank Chakani, and working within them, contributing his voice to bring about healing and unity in a divided nation. But what though was his, in all of that, what was his driving ambition? I'm asking this because you will recall that he did attract some criticism for living a lavish lifestyle.
Well, Pastor Ray was an extremely generous person. So of course, when you're at the top, you're going to get a lot of flack, and people are looking, at your life and judging your life.
But Pastor Ray gave his everything, giving his time, giving his resources. I mean, he was extremely generous. And that's one thing, if you with Pastor Ray and Pastor Ray and you work with Pastor Ray, that's one thing that you'll experience about him. So yes, there's negativity. Any leader, has been, of course, that's worth his salt is going to be attacked, in certain areas of his life. But if you look at the man for who he is and the impact that he made in South Africa, he's a giant. In the faith community, he's known as, we know him as the African lion. He never stood back for a fight and always implored us, to be the voice for the voiceless, to never back down in a fight for justice and righteousness, and always to be there for the marginalized, always to be there for the poor. So with everything that was said, the one thing you find Pastor Ray, you'll find him in the squatter camps, you find him in the townships, being there, marching, for the rights of the poor.
Of course, I mean, he was one of the signatories to the Rustenburg, Anti-Apartheid Rustenburg Declaration that was signed in 1980, after which he actually apologized for not taking a stance against apartheid earlier.
Well, Pastor Ray is not known for that. He's known for taking a stance against apartheid. So bringing that up is, I mean, it's confusing because he's known for being a leader and in the faith community to being this, the one that started that and began that, and through his church, opened the doors and had multiracial services. And there was a price to pay. He was ostracized, from the white community at some stage as well, and criticized from that side as well. But if you look at the legacy that he leaves, that's the legacy. That's what it is, and that has fostered many of his disciples and his sons that have stood up, in the faith to do the same. Strong voice, when it comes to racism.
Now, at the signing of the Anti-Apartheid Rustenburg Declaration, he was the one who actually apologized for not taking a stance earlier.
Yes.
Which I thought was magnanimous.
I hear you.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. Yes, and Pastor Ray is known for that. So he's that impact that he's made, that mark that he has made, has impacted each and every one of us. And I think it set the benchmark. It set the benchmark for the faith community, especially in the Pentecostal charismatic movement. When we're talking about touching people's lives, we're talking about inclusivity.
He was, of course, a spiritual mentor to many, and one remembers the, pictures of him with the late Ansi Cronje. Was he a mentor to you as well?
Yes, he was. He was a mentor to me. I had the privilege of spending countless hours with him, and and just sitting on those one-on-one situations. And even in the last, especially the last few years of his life, been sitting there, I try to get to him, on a weekly basis, but with my travels, it might be bi-weekly. And just sitting with him and just him, of course, when the pastors are older, they love telling the stories, if you hear what I'm saying. So just hearing the stories of faith, and then always a boldness. And this is the one thing about Pastor Ray. He had a fight on the inside of him. And even up to now, I mean, Pastor Ray was strong in this last week. He preached 2 weeks ago. He was preaching still, and a strong message, a strong message of faith, a strong message of love, And so personally to me, he's really has I think the way he does ministry, in that it's not just a church, and he said that to me many times. He said to me, Bert, it doesn't help. We just come to church together and we sing a song and we have a sermon and we go on and live our lives. That's not Christianity. It's what we do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. In other words, what we do on a Sunday, we go live it out on a Monday to a Saturday. And that's what he said. What does it help? We're all in church on Sunday, but outside, just down the road, we have people that don't have a place to sleep, people that can't eat. And that's why you'll see Pastor Ray was very, very strong also in social development as well.
Pastor Pretorius, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Vuyo.